and said to the mob in the school, you know, whoever wants these books can have them. I'm over it. So I just went down to the local theatre and knocked on the back door and said, oh, you know, I'm looking for a job. I think I was 19 at the time. I'm looking for a job. And the guy said, when could you start? And I said, well, whenever. He said, well, if you can start now, you've got a job. You know,
yeah.
I'm up on the Sunshine Coast, so I don't know how they're shooting it now at all.
Yeah. And so tell me, Bill, will you go back to directing or producing more TV series from here, or have you kind of moved into a semi sort of retirement stage?
Oh, gee, I wish I knew, Brad. I'd like to think I was semi-retired, but I still get jobs up here. I've got a thing tomorrow, being Saturday here, with a bunch of writers. We're doing a roundtable writers' room, which is set to be one of 3 meetings, and we're trying to get a web series up and running called Unleashed.
Unleashed. Okay.
Unleashed.
Yeah.
So I just happen to have.
Very good. Unleashed.
Unleashed, yeah. But it's not about dogs, it's about people. It's
right.
It's set in a dog park that's opened by the council, and the first episode is first few seconds, 40 seconds, 30, 40, we haven't got a shot yet, we're just scripting. There's people wandering around having a sip of champagne and saying, you know, it's taken us years to plan this park. Thank God it's opening at last. And the mayor makes a very short speech and presses a button, and the big steel door goes up, opens a little coffee shop that's at the dog park, and lying across the front counter there's a dead body.
Oh no.
That's the start. What happens after that we haven't figured out yet, but we're having the writers' room to figure it out over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah,
so
awesome. That's good.
That'll be fun. And it's about Unleashed. It's about people's mind being unleashed by that moment. So it's not about the dogs at all, you know. But they've all got dogs, all these people at the park. And they're the sort of characters that would never ever meet. You'd never expect them to meet. You know, you'd never expect a school teacher to meet a train driver, to meet a magician, to meet. They normally would never meet, except they walk their dogs on this park. So it enables us to get a group of very, very interesting characters together.
Yeah.
Who can cross-pollinate and say, oh my God, how does this affect me? You know. So it should be interesting, yeah. So I'm still working on. In answer to your question, I have retired, but I'm still working.
Yeah. Well, the creative process, I mean, you're not going to be able to switch that off, eh? And neither would you want to, really.
I don't want to. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very happy pointing a camera or like that film we made together, the showdown one. Yeah. I was very happy helping the director, helping the producer, helping everybody I could to get moving and get it made and see it made, you know.
Yeah. Now, and I've advertised you as this, so far my experience has been as such. But you strike me as a very down to earth kind of guy, which is not the typical picture that sometimes people have of, you know, directors, accomplished directors and producers, what have you. So, I mean, how have you felt throughout the years navigating your way around some of those kind of people who have got massive egos they're carrying?
Yep, you've gone black. Yeah. I don't know. I really can't answer that. I don't know. I know the sort of person you're talking about. I had to fly to London once to do a show, and I was in economy, and the director, I wasn't directing, I was producing, and the director insisted on being in first class, so he turned up, and he sort of, while he stumbled onto the plane and took his coat off and his jacket off and all that sort of stuff, saying, oh yes, well I've just come straight from set, I've been working with Gary Sweet and we've been doing this, that and the other, and oh I'm so tired and I'll have to settle in, and I thought, oh,
Frozen was it?
yeah, saying I've got to work with this guy for 7 weeks. My God! So I know the sort of person you're talking about. Well, it's just not me. That's all. I just work hard. I love what I'm doing, and I just try to get it right and do the best I can. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that your nature, though, like I guess this kind of down to earth, authentic sort of way, has allowed you to, I guess, connect with the people you've got on your team, and work with the actors in a way that's perhaps different to someone who has that very different kind of profile?
I don't know. Well, it has allowed me to connect. I'm a pretty good communicator. I was born in June, so I'm a Gemini. I'm good at communicating, and that's it. They may be communicating on a different level. I really don't know.
Yeah. We've got Chef Blake here. He's someone I've gotten to know. He's actually an Aussie. He's in Melbourne, and he's kind of gotten a little bit of a taste for filmmaking himself. He's creating a bit of YouTube content and what have you around cooking at the moment. But I think, like myself, as he started going down the rabbit hole of learning with so much great content online nowadays, he's gotten sort of excited, about it. And I love the creative process. I love the fact that, like what you're talking about before, and you start talking about Unleashed and these different characters, that you can essentially breathe something into life, that's come from nowhere. And if you're spending a lot of time thinking about it, they become quite real in your head. And you can I've heard some people say that they I guess, end up writing in a way where they're kind of picturing these people and their personalities so thoroughly that they kind of think about what would they do if they entered this sort of scene. So they kind of almost think of, like, here's the scene, let's plonk those characters in there, and what unfolds.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And obviously a lot of the characters, or there's about 8 characters in this particular venture, of which I haven't thought. My partner Tonya, who's this screenwriter, and myself have thought of 2. So we're looking for another 6 characters. But those 2 we've thought of are an accumulation of people we know.
Yeah.
And we can use that, extend it, exaggerate it, make it larger than life, or play it down, whatever is required. But, we know somebody who has a daughter who wants to be a male, for instance.
Yeah.
So one of the characters in Unleashed is a female, young, 18, and she wants to be a male. So we get a hell of a lot of interest, drama, and also thought-provoking stuff out of that particular character talking to a mother who doesn't want her to be a male, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's a terrific dichotomy,
yes,
that we can use without stealing any secrets from that family, because we make it totally different, really. But there's another guy who's got a secret dope plantation next to a national park, and the council are going, "Oh, we're going to extend the national park," and he's going, "No." So I get a bit of fun out of that,
Indeed.
Yeah. No.
It's funny. I won't name the exact location, and it's maybe a good thing that I've lived in a few different places so that no one's going to pin it on the exact town. But funnily enough, at one stage in my life, I had wandered, like, the properties that we're in, or the bottom part of them, all interconnected, right? So you can just wander across most people's yards for at least 4 or 5 places anyway. The joint that was on the very left of us was the last one, and then it was kind of countryside. And for whatever reason, and we're on this river and there's mangroves. I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I was trying to get rid of some mangroves. I probably shouldn't say that on here. You're not officially allowed to get rid of them. But we had a patch of mangroves that just happened to mysteriously die in a perfect line straight through to where we needed the jetty to go to the river one night. And but anyway, I've gone wandering over, and lo and behold, I come around a corner, like through this lantana, just trying to find somewhere to drop off this wood or whatever. And there's a little little room size sort of plantation of pot plants. And it was funny because the guy who lived there, I just wouldn't have picked as being the sort of character who'd be growing a bunch of pot in his backyard. That's
right. Well, that's exactly what you do with your characters. You make them so that you don't suspect it until you need to reveal it in the story.
Yeah. So now, look, let's go into your backstory, because when we first met and we were chatting, and I was kind of rambling away about some of my ideas for shows and what have you, and telling a bit of my story and how academia kind of wasn't really my bag, and you know, part of what I'd like to do. And I still would like to, even in my venture that I'm heading into. I'd like to shine a bit of a spotlight on people who've succeeded without going to uni, so that hopefully people who are out there who just don't really connect with that academic stream can have some sort of hope of doing something different. And I loved your story. So can you take us through, you know, your high school, what led up and what happened?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, my parents were very thoughtful people, and I'm not taking anything against them. They're passed now, of course. But they wanted me to have what they didn't have, which was an education. And so they sent me to Royal Melbourne Tech to do civil engineering, because they thought, you know, well, I did a test with somebody or other who said, hey, you should be an engineer, this guy. And off I went. Anyway, I hated it, hated every minute of it, didn't want to do it, didn't want to do it, didn't want to do it. And then one day, I only got 2 years into it, and one day I just threw my books away and said, no, I'm not doing this. Walked out and said to the mob in the school, you know, whoever wants these books can have them, I'm over it. So I just went down to the local theatre and knocked on the back door and said, oh, you know, I'm looking for a job. I think I was 19 at the time. I'm looking for a job. And the guy said, when could you start? And I said, well, whenever. He said, well, if you can start now, you've got a job. I thought, oh, fantastic. So from then on, it was all learning by, you know, working in the theatre, working backstage in television, watching other people, going to classes at weekends. It wasn't an academic thing at all.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, I've got a young mentor at the moment up here on the coast who's 18, and he's made a film. It's a fantastic little film. And I said to him, well, what are you going to do next when you finish school? He said, well, some people are saying I should go to a film school, but there's other people, friends of mum's who's a producer, and he said, don't bother going to a film school. Just go out and make films. And I said, oh, thank God for that. I haven't heard anybody say that for years and years. I said, that's the best thing you can do. The best thing you can do is just make films. If you've got a phone, you can make a film. You know, can you see out the window? You can make a film. It's a matter of making them and making the mistakes. And I said, when you do that, don't then look for people who are going to say, oh, that's fantastic, that's great. I said, look for the people who go, yeah, it's very good, but you could have improved it by doing this, that, and the other. I said, that's the sort of people you want to meet to criticise your film. Yeah. People who will give you the truth. And I always give the truth. It's got me into trouble a couple of times, I must say, over the years. But I always tell the truth, and I think that helps a great deal. It helps you get through life because you haven't got problems going in your head. What did I tell him? What didn't I? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it also helps the person that you speak to. Even at the moment, they might go, oh, no. The next morning, they wake up and they say, oh, that guy's probably right, you know. So
that's right.
I think certainly you don't, I believe, you don't need a education, formal education to make films. There's a lot of things you have to learn, but you don't have to learn it at uni.